Okay, welcome to another episode of the Career Channel. And here with me today, I have Meira Spivak, who reached out to me on LinkedIn. And of course, I had known who she was. She is the director of NCSY in Oregon. And she had a really interesting question for me. And she said, are you talking about outreach as a career and recommending it to people? And she caught me there because outreach is something that I was always interested in. I did as a teen. And I have definitely thought of as a career path, but I have not been recommending it. And so she had the idea of talking a little bit about that. And I was really excited to have someone with her background, her level of experience as a professional in this field. So please welcome aboard and tell us a little bit about what it's like, what people should know. Give us the rundown.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for having me here. I'm like very excited. I happen to love my job. I'm very passionate about it. And it's really exactly what you said. Like I look around and I see so many people going into just, careers and business and they have such great like just a great background. They have a lot of great skills and they're applying that into the everyday workplace. And how amazing would it be for us, for the Jewish people, for Klal Yisrael, if people were spending, using those skills to help do Kiruv. So it's really something that I feel people can do. A lot of people don't know that you actually can get paid and have an actual career and a job doing Kiruv. And that's why I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's nice. Maybe we'll have guests for Shabbos every so often. Maybe like Project Inspire will ask us to like host, I don't know, a weekend. But it really can be more than that. And if people want, they could really have this very meaningful life where they're just spending their job, their essence of who they are. They're really spending it giving to other people. So, I want, and I'm happy to talk to you about that. I'm really glad to be here because I want people to know it's so important that really Kiruv can be a job and a career.
Amazing. So let me ask you, because this is what I'm thinking. Like, did you grow up religious? Did you know that you were going to do this your whole life? And what got you started?
Okay, I grew up. I'm from Queens originally. I grew up modern Orthodox, and I was going to be a lawyer with three kids. Okay, that was what I was going to be when I was in high school. That was my career path. That definitely did not happen. I never thought I would go into Kirov, and eventually, after I had got married, we moved to Israel. We were there for 5.5 years. My husband had joined Reb Berkowitz's Kollel, and after sitting in classes for both the men and the women for about 3 years and hearing every single like lesson, every shiur ending in, so this is why you should go do Kiruv, it kind of just like starts seeping in. And even though what's interesting is after the 5 years or so that we were in Israel, at that point we actually said, I think we're going to stay. Like I was a caterer, we are doing all these fun stuff. And, we were just happy. And we were basically had started keeping one day, like we were there. And one day my husband was in yeshiva and somebody said to him, hey, I have a friend moving to Portland, Oregon. He probably said Oregon because like he didn't know that it was Oregon, but Portland, Oregon. And uh, you should probably go check it out. You guys should probably move there with him. And he was like, what? Like we live in Israel now. We're really happy, but thank you. And he was like, just go meet them. And somehow we just met them and somehow we just flew to Portland to check it out. And somehow we just had an interview and somehow we ended up here. It was definitely not in my plan. I was one of those people on the plane to Portland, like checking the map on the plane, like where are we where is Oregon? Like where are we? Like it's
You
out of
realize how cold it was there, did you?
what was that?
You realize how cold it was going to be?
It's actually not so cold here. It's not even
No?
cold. It's actually just rainy. So from May to like September, it's like perfect, gorgeous 70s, 80s weather, and then the rest of the year, it's just kind of rainy. So
Okay,
it's
I clearly
not
didn't
so
ever
cold.
come to New York. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we didn't have a blizzard just now. There was no blizzard.
Wow,
So
okay.
yeah.
Cool. Okay, so you go there, and then were you hired for an official title? Was your husband hired for a job? Was it a couple job? Tell us about that.
Okay, so when we moved to Portland, we came to be part of the Kollel, to help start the Kollel. There was one other couple that was coming. There was going to be like a few people at the same time in the community. The rabbi of the shul was joining there. We were really transitioning the community to like kind of bring in new blood is what was happening. And I had volunteered as an advisor for NCSY before I was married. I had never been part of it in high school, but I had somehow got connected after seminary. I volunteered, and then when I moved to Portland, somebody said, we're looking for someone to take over the NCSY. And I said, oh, that's interesting. Is there a job? And they were like, oh, no, there's no job. It's just someone to volunteer to take over NCSY. So I said, okay, let me go visit. And I came to their Latte and Learn program, which was like a Thursday night. It's like the signature NCSY program. And I came to Starbucks, and this was many years ago. And I said, oh, where's everyone? And they're like, oh, we're here. And there were 5 kids sitting around a table. And for some reason, I just felt this like instant connection. I was like, I'm going to do this. Like, this is going to become a really big thing. And I'm like, I just knew right away. I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. So there wasn't even a paid anything. There was literally like a Rebbitzin who was volunteering who like was like, please take this. And, but slowly over time, it was like, you know what, let's offer you some sort of part-time, whatever. And then it became, okay, this needs to be a little bit more significant. And then it turned into eventually full-time. And one of the reasons I love my career is because as time went on, I started taking on more responsibilities. Now I'm managing others, I'm doing fundraising development. So really my job is switching all the time, either, start off more hands-on day to day, like with the teens, and now with even helping supporting other people doing Kirov. So there's just like a lot of opportunities. So even though initially, we officially came for the Kollel, I've been doing NCSY ever since. And again, like, I mean, I love it. And I love the fact that I could support my family doing something that's meaningful.
So your title today is like regional director of
No, so it's really interesting. I'm the director of Oregon, and then I'm also the Northern District Manager of West Coast. The West Coast region is huge. So it's like it's Nevada, it's Arizona, it's California, it's Washington, it's Oregon. It's really big. So I mean, imagine like all the way Florida to like Canada, Toronto, okay, being one region. It's like really, really big. So I manage the upper half of the region. And I'm also specifically focused on Oregon, where we're a little bit unique. We have our own middle school program, our high school program, a college program, and we started a sleepaway camp. So we have a lot going on, and so I just constantly just doing different things.
wow. So let me ask you, when someone's thinking of a career, I love how you just like found something that excited you and then did it like you did what you would do, even if you didn't get paid. And then turns out you turned it into a role where you could get paid. But what if somebody knows that they're looking for something like this would be alternative to a different career path, right? Are there like open paid roles? How does that work?
Yeah, so NCSY is a lot different now than it was like 15 years ago. It's a lot more standardized, professional. Like there's a system for everything. So, we have we have like a kind of a recruitment department with open jobs, but there are now just jobs, starting salaries, what you receive. This was again, I went to a town, there was nothing there. It's a little bit different if you want to kind of start your own project. So that I guess ran a little bit differently. But if you're going to any job that any city that has an NCSY or looking for positions, they have a starting salary, they have a contract, I mean, a job description, whatever you need to get the job started. And you would just get involved by contacting the NCSY, recruitment department and the NCSY city directors or regional directors in your area and applying to a job that way.
Oh, so it's a little more official than walking into Starbucks and getting inspired.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely more. Again, my way was totally like through the back door, and it just
Yeah,
worked. Like I don't even think I could have been doing it here in Portland. They probably would have known. Like it was just we're in the middle of nowhere. Like nobody, I mean, not really, but they wouldn't have known about us all the way
right.
to New York. But also now that everything is so much more, what Zoom opened up and what COVID opened up, that everything is so, people are. I have to share this with you. So this year in COVID, we had a couple that was both the husband and the wife were working for me separately, like they were hired independently to work for me, and in March. They had been for 8 years and they had to move for personal reasons. And we're very close with them and nothing to do with our job. And as time went on, I started realizing I don't have a replacement for them. And I called up every like cola, every type of organization that I could think of, like that possibly could get me candidates. And I had nothing. And in August, I realized that I had a choice. I'm either going to be by myself the whole year or I better do something different. And I ended up hiring remotely doing Kirov. Okay, this is unique. It's not like I hired my secretary from New York. Our are the people that are staffing and working and doing Kirov with our teens actually never met them. They live in another state and they actually are working on Zoom remotely, running programs for the kids in Portland. So that's extremely unique situation. It's gone really, really well, like far surpassing any of my expectations. And what's interesting is that that's also like, even though that wouldn't necessarily be like the norm, but even in the future, if someone is, let's say, in a state and maybe they wanted to get involved, possibly they could run some online programming. I think online programming, even though we hate it, there are some advantages of it. Like we're reaching kids that we never reached before. So there's even possibly opportunities without moving to Yehupitzville, okay, where you could even like be running programs possibly remotely from other cities. So there's ways to get involved, even like on a part-time, something like that. But then as a full-time career, it really is an option. And especially, and I say this 100 times, but especially for women, because they're always thinking, oh, this is like my husband will do this and I'll support. Girls need role models that are women. They need to see women who are strong leaders. It's so important for them to see that. So women should consider this as a career also. This is not just for men. And the more women that get involved, the better it is for the teens.
Wow, I love that you could do it remote now. And even I think that it's a good idea as like a trial, right? So somebody who's like not sure if they want to, hop in a plane like you did, it sounds like a good way to try it out. And I love how the benefits, of COVID also are just like crazy that it changed the way the world works in terms of careers. Now, let me ask you in terms of financial compensation, right? So I have this idea that you're going to do this, or a lot of people ask me this question. You're going to do the exact same job, but if it was for profit, you would make X amount more. If it's nonprofit, it's going to be X amount less. And the passion, the fire, the satisfaction is going to pay the rest of your bills, right? Tell me about that.
I know it's not true. It's not true. It's a regular salary. It's competitive. Again, I can't compare if you're working in like top law firm in New York. Like I'm sure that's not equal level, but really anything else, it's a regular job. And check it out. Like I'm actually putting together packages now. And what's interesting is it's even a little bit, look how much I have to think about. Because if you apply for a job, let's say in California at a firm, okay, they're not thinking about your family and your tuition and your when I'm putting together a package now, I'm keeping all those counts and I'm taking all of that into account. Like I'm going to start husbanding like how much they need to live. Like they got to get their kids in school, right? They're not going to public school for free. They have to, right? So I'm actually even probably giving them a bigger package because I need their family to move to Portland and manage. I don't want them to come to me every month and say I can't manage, I can't manage. It's like not healthy for anybody. So it's even more considerate, I think, that the way we offer salaries because we have to make it livable for them.
So you're coming from a much more like a lifestyle approach, not like, well, here's the value of your job, here's what you deserve to get paid. You're like, well, if I expect your family to move here, relocation costs, you're calculating the housing, the schooling, the grocery, like everything, the big picture.
It's funny because I'm the person who's always like, if I want to ask for a raise, I never ask because of my needs. I'm always like, well, this is my value. So like, it's a funny thing that you're saying that. Like, I do believe people should get paid based on their value. But what's interesting is a lot of the people that are moving out of town, especially, it's probably one of their first jobs. Like it could be that they worked other places, but especially people coming from Cole and Israel or coming from somewhere, they don't even have so much experience, right? And we know that. So what's actually nice about it is you're really getting hands-on training. Like in my office, we sit around a table. It's like I am there to help build you. We are a team. I really feel like I can't do this myself. And the amount of experience people get when they move and they have, especially they have a strong boss who's really there to support them, it's unbelievable. It's like not even comparable to a regular job because like you don't understand if they don't succeed, our whole organization doesn't succeed. So for me, like the stakes are really high. So we are going to put in every bit of effort to make sure that this works.
If only businesses thought the same way, like I think, profits and usually nonprofits have a lot to learn from, for profits, but that sounds like the opposite there. So the pay, yeah, I agree with that idea that people should usually get paid for their value, but I like that you're taking reality into
Yeah.
consideration. So another question for you is what does the job actually look like? Like, is it cooking, the whole week for these huge Shabbos meals? Like what exactly, give me like a couple of quick, I'm sure there are a lot of different jobs. So what does it actually look like the day to day?
It's funny because it really does depend on your job, but there's a program that we run. It's called the Jewish Student Union. Okay. And in a non-COVID year, we actually go into public high schools and we run Jewish clubs. Okay. And that's actually is the main way that we meet kids because instead of having them come to us and saying, after school, join us, we actually go to them, right? Bagels in tow. And we're coming in, we're like, and we say they come for the bagels, but they stay for the experience, right? So they are coming for food initially, but that's really a great way that we reach out to a lot of kids. So if somebody is like a high school director, they spend a lot of time in the public schools actually themselves. Now, again, COVID is very different and our programs are virtual. So I don't know what that's going to look like, but in a normal year, and we also have a lot of Shabbaton. So if you're out of town, it's kind of fun because you get to go. There's some of them are local in Portland, and it might even be an hotel in Portland because we don't have, let's say, enough hosts to have everybody there. But we're also traveling to California and to Vegas. And we'll go once a year. We'll take the higher level teens, the older kids to New York. And so we're having like a lot of different trips, Canada, Seattle, just around the area. So that's really fun. So it could be a lot of recruitment, A lot of recruitment is involved in this job. It is not just like, "Oh, I put out a flyer," right? You need the flyer, but nobody's coming to a program for the flyer. So you need to be making sure you're managing your teens, that they're doing recruiting, that their social media is going out. We also are very, very big believers that Kiruv is done through the family. So besides having a teen meal for Shabbos, we have our Shabbat shebang Friday night dinners. Besides for that, we actually have a lot of family meals. We're inviting the whole family to join us for Shabbos, and it's a way to not only impact everybody, but for them, the parents, to meet you and see, oh, okay, you're normal. I get it. Now when my kid comes to a program, I see who they're going to. It's very, very healthy, and it just makes the relationship so much stronger. So we are doing a lot of family meals, so it could be that they're preparing for a latte and learn program, and they're preparing the program and the content and something like that. They might be doing recruitment. They might be physically in the schools. They might be organizing the education on the Shabbaton, the informal education, right? Because it's not about just sitting in classes. It's about how are we going to make this fun and exciting. So there's a whole plethora of things. It's a lot of one-on-one with parents, going to coffee, just all types of, it's, that's why I love my job, because there's not even one thing. Like, it's just constantly changing. We might decide we're having a Shabbat Top Chef cooking competition. Okay. And then we're all springing into action. And then that's the whole day where everybody's cooking and the family's coming for meals. And I mean, that event is like, could take a month of work. So it really just depends on what is going on.
Sounds like so much fun.
Yeah.
Do you, um, are there specific, like I'm hearing like, okay, like, as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking through, as a career coach, like what skills are there? So it sounds like, a lot of creativity, a lot of extroversion. Is that true? What else would you say is, like, if you had to generalize the specific traits that would make someone ideal at outreach?
So I will tell you, just because this is another one of my trainings, I'm actually trained in this innovation and creativity method. And creativity, even though people think it's a gift, it's actually a skill. So we teach innovation and creativity. So people don't have to be as creative to come in this job, as long as they're willing to learn the steps of how to innovate on demand. So that's something that I help people with, which is like super, just something I'm passionate about. It is being extroverted. It is um, not giving up, because there's a lot of times you call people and they don't answer the phone, or they just like go straight to voicemail, and then you text them and you get an answer. So then you have to like you're like borderline, am I stalking, or like am I just being like really pushy, or am I, so you want to be like, you have to just not get sometimes things get you down, right? I had an event, it didn't go the way I wanted. It was frustrating. You have to be able to get back. You could give yourself time, give yourself like morning time and whatever, but you have to get back up, because we can't afford to, we can't afford not to. And it's just like there's too much to do. There's too many kids, there's too many people out there. So recruitment is a huge one. It's perseverance. Go getting that kind of style is really like the most healthy.
It's like grit and resilience is what you're saying. Yeah, and very passionate. I'm guessing that it's not something that's hard to get passionate about. Would you say that's like the number one thing that gets you through, or what is it for you?
I think it's really just thinking about the potential of all of these kids. Like, I just know, I mean, I'll tell you, the nachas for us is like when we moved here, the teens that were in kind of our first years of NCSY, a number of them actually became from and moved back to Portland married. So now, like, they live on my block and they're in my kids' schools. Their kids are in my kids' schools. So it's like it's come full
Wow.
circle. So that's like so, so nice.
Wow. I mean, getting right, the second generation to coming back, I mean, that's like the best measure of success there is in any, and yeah, in anywhere.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. And what would you say is I guess the biggest, give us some stories, like a little bit about, like, give me like a typical day. I want to hear like a little bit more like hands-on, like, what it is.
Okay, so again, it just depends what you're doing. But let's say somebody was involved in middle school programming, okay, and this was something that they were doing. So they might have middle school clubs, right? Also, we're also going into middle schools. They might be arranging a event. So we might be having like a really fun. It could be even in someone's home where we're having like a Saturday night, whatever, something in someone's home. It could be that we're renting out a laser tag, whatever, something place. So again, it could be that they're um, doing social media live videos. It could be that they're meeting with the kid. I mean, a lot of it is really empowering kids, because you're not going to be able to impact, and we know this with everything, right? If you have like just a pyramid, right? So if you have one person, they can only impact so many people. But if you have one person who's having 5 or 10 people helping them, look at the, how much, what kind of a spread and how broad of people, how broad of a group they can reach. So again, it's a lot of meeting with kids. It's taking them out, ice cream, like it's a lot of schmoozing. It's a lot, people tell me like, oh, great. Can I move to Portland? I have this great mahalach to like teach kids Gemara. I'm like, they don't know Aleph Beis. Like no one's learning Gemara yet. Okay. It's a lot of like footsie pajama parties, like a little bit, not actually, like we're not, but it's just a lot of that. It's a lot of schmoozing and relationships and hanging out and having them come over for your house and holding your baby and Shabbos meals and challah bakes. And it could be just any time. See, that's the best part is that there's no rules. Like there's certain things that have to get done. But
Mhm.
other than that, if you're creative or if you like to be, you can actually come up with your own events. So we've come up like in Portland, we've come up with Jewish driver's ed. Okay. So everyone needs driver's ed. Why not take it with us? It'll be cheaper. We'll have our own private class. And then we're going to tag on a Jewish class about the safety, body, and health issues, attached to our Jewish driver's ed, our Jewish SAT program, right? The Shabbat Top Chef is a playoff of all these other Top Chef, type of programs that there are, but now do it with us. We had our Jewish Babysitters Club where we partnered our middle school, where we partnered with the Red Cross, and we had our own CPR class, and then we taught them basically parenting and how to babysit, and the parents loved it. Then we had the kids intern and had to do hours in our homes practicing on our own children, having them coming into our homes and seeing what like it's just a different level of exposure. Right now these kids are in our homes. Okay, sometimes they're like, is this what it means to be from and then like, wait a minute, this is too many kids, but it's cute. Like I literally had 3 kids come. I'm like, why don't you guys all come at the same time? You'll do it together. Like it was really great for them. Like it's just another level. We're trying to think of experiences that go beyond the classroom. So it could be we're running a bake sale and it's just like a fun fundraiser for the kids to get involved in, or it could be we're putting on the big Q trivia night, and that's like all encompassing and taking over, and putting together the raffle and the prize and the trivia and the games and the recruitment it's just different all the time.
Beautiful. Now, I'm wondering about privacy. Like, it sounds like a lot of things happen coming to your family, your home. How do you separate your personal life from your work life?
Okay, so there's privacy and separating personal and work. Those are two different questions.
Okay.
Privacy is, I don't think that's really an issue. You just have to, sometimes you have to be a little bit strong and say, like, this week's just not going to work. Like, we're having family time. And you just have to know yourself. Even when I hire people, I tell them, I don't have like a rule, like, you have to have this many guests. Like, I'm assuming that if you're moving to Portland, you want to have guests. And if you're going to take off a week, take off a week. Like, I want you to take off a week because you need a week for your family. That's fine. I just want you, if you're at the point of like, I don't want to have guests anymore, then it could be you're not, maybe you shouldn't be in Kira, but I'm going to trust you. The work-life balance, I would say, is a challenge because we're so passionate about our work that it does come home. But I will say that, I actually once, I called up somebody in NCSY and I said, is this okay? Like, I feel like I'm like living, thinking, and breathing NCSY. And he said, and you know what? When someone's in a big firm, guess what they're living, breathing, and thinking. So
Such a
he said, right? Like I always think, honestly, like I'm always thinking of the Hadron at the end when people are making a siyum and it says, Anu amelim v'hem amelim. Like people toil and other people toil, right? Some people are spending their time in meaningful stuff and some people are spending their time on less meaningful stuff. So it is a balance, yes. And sometimes I have to say, I'm not answering the phone. I have to put away the phone at this time. I have to, and be like really like diligent about it because it's not natural, right? Or I have to not respond after certain times and not pick up the phone after certain times. And we have obviously rules in NCSY of like what times you should be on the phone and what times you shouldn't, just for our own safety and our own protection. But you do have to set up boundaries. But again, I do think that I would rather be spending my time on things that I feel are
You know
meaningful.
what, that was such a good answer. I love that.
Yeah.
Because it's true. We all, like, let's not pretend that we don't all spend so much of our lives thinking about work. And then the fact that your coworkers become family is just like it is, in a lot of companies. So yeah, so blurring the lines really isn't such a hard thing to understand when you put it that way.
Right. And I think everyone has that, everyone, no matter what your career you're in, if your phone rings during dinner, right, it's the same Yetzirah of if it's in for outreach or if it's for business, right? Is that same like, should I leave my kids to answer the phone or not? Like I'm in the middle of bedtime. And no matter what job you're in, you're going to have that test of like, how, can I give my kids these 5 minutes? Or like, can I even give 5 minutes? And where like really have to just turn off the phone sometimes and just like force myself, or we're not having guests at Shabbos, or this Sunday we're not doing this. I mean, I happen to enjoy work a lot. So I just enjoy it, right? When it comes home, but I do have to make time and say, no, my kids need me at certain hours, and I can't have meetings unless it's like an emergency. Like I can't have meetings during bedtime. Like I just can't. So
Right, like any professional, right?
like
Like
any
any woman who
profession,
chooses to have a career and raise a family, she's going to have to do what works for her, that
right,
satisfies her need for a career, which it sounds like you would have and you would be fulfilling as a lawyer otherwise. So it's
right,
beautiful.
right.
Yeah. Living your family, you and your husband are not from the West Coast, right? Is that a question you get a lot, and what's your response to moving so far?
Yeah, so we're both from New York. It was, I have to tell you, we lived in Israel and then moved to Portland, right? So it was shocking. Okay. It was beyond shocking moving to Portland. It is just a different lifestyle. I mean, even just like the culture. I mean, this is shocking. We don't even have garbage pickup every week. It's, I mean, really, this is every other week is garbage pickup. Every week is recycling and every week is compost. And I was like, I call on the phone. I'm like, hi, is there exceptions for like bigger families? They're like, man, we don't know what you mean because we tried this out on a family with two kids and a dog and they were fine, and I'm like, right. So like Erev Pesach, you're like, you have to like go to the garbage dump, like literally fill the van. I'm like, because it's like crazy. Like it's a different lifestyle here. People are very like, my parents come to visit from New York and they're like, does anybody have a job? Like everyone's just jogging and drinking Starbucks. Like people are very flexible hours. It's like a very healthy lifestyle. Everyone is, it's just different, like people are super friendly. We came here, we were in the supermarket and someone's like, oh, how you doing? How's your day? And you're like turning around, like, like, who are they talking to? Like, I don't even know you. Like, why are you asking me, what are you making? I see you're buying like onions. I'm like, what? Like, what? Well, I don't know you. But it took a lot of getting used to, like, people are really nice. Like, you don't honk here unless you've thought about your honk. Like, if someone is on the phone in front of you and they even at the light and they're checking something and they haven't moved yet, you think I should give them a second. They're probably gonna, like, you do not honk unless you are in an emergency. Like when I go to Brooklyn and I'm like, people are like, they're watching in the corner to see if the light's turning from the other way because they're ready and they're ready honking because like you should get ready. Like you're like when you live in Portland, you go back to New York, you're like, what is wrong with everyone? Why is everyone honking? Like it's just a different lifestyle.
Oh.
It was very shocking, like in the beginning, and then we started realizing that people in the supermarket were speaking to us, and it's just nice here. People are really really nice. We're very happy here. It was a culture shock. It was very different. It is different. And you know what? For my parents and my in-laws, us moving to the West Coast was still closer than being in Israel. So they were like, "Oh, okay, I guess you're closer."
When you
So
give them an option like that, then you sort of convince them.
right, we're way closer than we were before. So
Right, it could be across the country, or across the planet, your choice.
I will also tell you, like, we are people that really, I didn't want to be in like in the Gashmias, like so much. So like out of town is out of town, right? There's no like fancy stores that I mean, there is like you can go to Nordstrom, but like there's no like fancy Jewish stores that you can, go shopping in. You can have to buy online. You'd have to wait till you go in to New York or wherever. So there is stuff like that. I mean, I'm happy, even though we give up that stuff. I wanted that for my family. Like I know I can get into that and I didn't want that. So we're happy that we live in a place that's like not focused on, like, everybody here runs, they're all walking around in their exercise clothes because like either they're going to go for a walk or they just went, or like people don't care here. So it's like, I like
Right.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and how do you feel like the children, like the next generation, like your kids, like do they feel like they missed out on anything? Did they get the same school? I mean, I'm guessing they got a really better, more well-rounded childhood, but what do you think?
Yeah. So it depends if you ask me or them. If you ask them, I mean, they've literally like nebuch what they've sacrificed for this world. They're like, no, but the truth is that they are definitely more well-rounded. Like I know when I go to the East Coast and I compare my kids to other kids, just looking like, I don't think that my kids are left out. If anything, like have that maturity. They could talk to adults. They've had a worldview. They could accept people for being different. Like it's just, it's a little bit nicer in that sense. The education is not the same, but my daughter, she ended up staying in Portland through 10th grade, and she and some of her friends went to LA, Base Yaakov LA for 11th to 12th, and then went to regular seminary, and now she's in Lakewood. And so like sending them to sleepaway camp is really, really important. We make sure that we're sending them from whatever grade that they have that summer with like regular in towners, and have that so they could just, feel like they fit in, and, going clothing shopping for that is its own experience. But we do, I think that they really walk out. I mean, the school here is really warm and really child centered. The classes are smaller. So, especially with people that want their kids in a smaller class, you have that out of town. So it's not the same. I mean, like literally my kids could be in blended classes, doesn't matter what age, multiple kids, grades, but they still are able to transition into regular schools and seminaries. So
Right. I mean, I'm guessing that they get the really important skills for life, like the resilience and the grit and the learning how to have creativity, being open-minded like you do. Yeah, so that I don't think
Yeah. And
I
then
would.
when they switched, like the kids that went into like into Beisaka Valet, it was like, oh, good, we're getting the Portland kids. Like
Oh,
there's a certain thing. Like they've already run their own business because they've already run their own shop at Tones when they were like in ninth grade, and they've already.
wow.
It's just different because they've had this different life experience. That's not the same, but there's a lot of advantages.
Yeah. Okay. I'm so inspired talking to you. I better not get
We
on the
have
next
job,
plane and
we have job openings if you're looking
so
for.
tell me, are you hiring now? If somebody is really, listening to this and is as excited as I am by hearing you describe what you do for a living and making a living and having an amazing lifestyle, and being able to wear workout clothes during the day, what are the job openings and how could they get in touch with you?
Okay, I don't wear workout clothes during the day, but okay.
Jeez.
Yeah, no, so we are hiring. We are looking for like actually a number of staff. We have our middle school um, programming, our middle school director, which is someone who will focus obviously with middle school and also helping us to develop a sleepaway camp. So it might be someone that's really passionate either about camping, who wants to actually maybe even take over a camp, and this is like a more of a long term, but that's like a lot of growth opportunity specifically in the camping area if somebody wants that, just because we did start a sleepaway camp for kids in this area. And our high school director also looking for someone who really like enjoys working with teens. It is a different skill. Like I don't want to work with middle schoolers, but I want to work with teens. Like I enjoy schmoozing with them more. I happen to love schmoozing with middle schoolers, but like which one can I do for longer? I could work with teens. Like it's a different skill each age. So that's that. We also are looking for even potentially people that could help with marketing. I need office staff. There's a lot of stuff. So it could be that would be like a double, like a spouse. One of them might be working in Kirov. It could be the woman or the man, and the other one working and helping with marketing or social media or office work. So it really just depends. I'm flexible. I'm really trying to be very flexible. So if somebody wants to do high school but also wants to help with camp, or somebody doesn't want to do the whole thing and just do pieces, parent engagement, family engagement, there's just a lot open. So, just definitely flexible. I mean, they could contact me and Meira at ncsy.org, is definitely a great way. And if they're looking for other positions, I'm happy to connect them to our NCSY different recruitment team. And I'm happy to connect them if they're not even looking to come out to Portland, Oregon, which not everybody is. But it's, also, by the way, some of these jobs are focusing more on kids coming from like in town backgrounds, working more with InReach or Kirov Krovin, let's say, as opposed to in Portland, where it's all it's real outreach for teens that have never been in that, regular Jewish school structure. So it's
Yeah, I'm
all
so excited about this. Yeah, because I hear a lot of people come to me and they have this like vague notion of I love helping teens. So then I say, well, then go become a social worker and then get a job in high school. So sounds like a really, more interesting
like
option.
this is definitely a different option. Exactly, exactly. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, so many NCSYs looking for people. Like really, there's chapters everywhere looking for regular level, first level staff coming in, being a chapter director for a few years. There are people possibly looking for organization, educate. It depends where the city is, but there's really a lot of options.
Got it. Okay. And they could find starting salary information on the MCSY recruitment.
Yeah, on the website. I mean, I think and I don't really know how to the official one. I would say go to ncsy.org if they want more information, but really they could just contact me and I will get them to the right person within like minutes. So
Seconds. Yes. Sounds like it.
I would say seconds, but minute.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. Last question.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of couples do this as, joint, like a joint operation, right? So what if one of the couple wants to, and one of them just wants a normal job? Like, is that something that's acceptable? And what's the job market like where you are?
Well, so yeah, of course. Actually, the people that I'm interviewing right now happens to be one of the spouses want to work and the other one wants to either be a speech therapist or whatever, it just depends. Happens to be in Portland, like we have a lot of hospitals. So a lot of people come here for medical jobs. It really just depends. The job market it really depends on your field. Like it is strong. People are coming here. They are getting jobs. I don't really know very many people that are unemployed. There are, obviously some, but it is strong. So it just depends, I guess, on what field you want. People are working in the public school system. And of course, if anybody wants to work in Clay Kodesh, the school also is always hiring. Definitely, it's a little plug. If anybody does want to teach, move out of town, not be in Kirov like I am, but maybe even making a difference because honestly, like it's so important to support the kids, like even my own kids, but even the school is like an outreach school, it's an Orthodox day school. So not everybody coming is from in the school. So it's the ability to like be just teaching, supporting our own kids who really, really need it, because they are here and they just need a little bit like TLC, but also there are kids in the school that it is Kirov. So that is another option to move out and even working in out of town schools. and you're definitely involved having Shabbos guests in that way, which is a little bit less direct. You don't need those skills of being like assertive. You need to be someone who's an educator and who loves working with children. So that's just also an option. So there are for sure options, education, medical. I mean, there are jobs here.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. And then to close, is there anything you wish you would have known before you went into this?
I think I just, it's a great question. I wish I would have known that, I wish I would have known right away that Cure is a full-time job. Like I just didn't know. Like I thought we were coming here and we're part of the, I knew we were kind of getting paid to be in a kollel and to do outreach to Kirov, but I didn't realize that I myself could develop this into a real career. And I also didn't understand that you make in Kirov a lot, you make your own job because sometimes people just do things that are in front of them. And if you have an idea, you should totally feel safe enough to come up and share it because you never know if it's at the right time in the right place. Like someone will just take you up on it. So, like, don't limit yourself, don't stop yourself. There's really a lot of opportunity and don't undervalue yourself. Like, it doesn't matter if you have experience, it does not matter. Your passion is what matters. Obviously, we want someone who's going to sound articulate when they speak and that they know how to write, you know, so they could send an email. But like, you don't need experience. You just need drive.
Love it. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
telling us about this. And I think that a lot of people will be excited to follow up with you. And let me hear when you get those jobs filled.
great. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.